Well, I think we are live. So, Syed, thanks for joining us as part of Sequence Financials podcast, where we connect with fellow founders, professionals, where they can share a bit about their journeys and insights and advice for people that perhaps want to go on a similar journey. I think a lot of people perhaps don't have the benefit of mentors. Or often, to be honest, we're often looking forward, I think, in our journeys, and but we don't sometimes appreciate that sometimes other people would perhaps want to go on a similar journey to us. So any of your insights and advice today, I'm sure will be definitely appreciated by anyone listening. But I think firstly, it's probably useful just to start a little bit about your background, if you don't mind.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, thank you, Junaid, for having me. Yeah, I would definitely I guess, shed as much light as possible in my history and career. And if that helps somebody, yeah, why not? Yeah, I guess I started my ACCA back in 2008, and oh, and I finished my ACCA within 2 years. So that was a good thing. I didn't fail any exams, so that was good. So I've been an accountant since almost 14 years. It does look like I guess it went in a blip, but trust me, it's a lot of hard work, and it's a lot of support has been put into it. So yeah, so I think since I've been ACCA since about 14 years, I have started my journey as a bookkeeper. When I started doing bookkeeping, I had a bit of knowledge about debits and credits, but that was it. And I think we never ever get to use debits and credits as much as we actually studied about it. So when we move into the like a practical world, you actually realize that the software does it all for you, but still you must be able to assess, because software only does what you actually put into it. So I trained as a bookkeeper when I was back in 2009, and the when I started my journey, I was an assistant, and I think the company went through a turmoil, and they had to sack the main accountant who was actually managing me. So I was basically left on my own uh, from the very beginning. And I think in the start I was going to hand in my notice in as well, and I'm like, it's too much, and I can't deal with it, because the company was quite company was very complex. They had imports, they had exports. They were claiming VAT back from France and this and that. They had goods coming in from all over the world, and they were selling goods to all over the world. And there was also retailing as well. So I had to do from invoicing to purchase invoices, and filing, and managing, and then accounts. And so I guess I stayed on, which was probably the best decision of my life. I actually realize it now, and that set stone of where I am now. I think I can still say proudly that I'm a very, very good bookkeeper, but obviously I tend to shy away now, because it's obviously not worth the time I put in. Yeah, so yeah, since from then I gone on to the an accountancy practice. It was a small accountancy practice, but it was full hands-on. Again, the person who was supposed to be managing me in that practice, he left as well, and he couldn't make it. So I was basically running the show again. I was given, and luckily at the time I joined, practice acquired another practice at that time. So I was given the responsibility to manage about 150 clients on my own. Again, I've never done that sort of thing before, but because I was a problem solver per se, or like just know my way out, whichever condition I'm in, I think that helped me a lot. And I think when I was the only one who was actually getting referrals after referrals after referrals, because my service was, and I think one thing we always pride upon, and I always did, is responding to the clients very, very quickly. And I think some of the clients loved it. Yeah, so from there on, I moved to another bigger practice. Again, I was given an opportunity to do one of their biggest clients. I think the fee from that client alone was about £200,000, and I was again managing about six of the staff there, and I was helping them to embed the system, and it was my system that I embedded in that, and obviously had a great help from my partner, from the principal in the business. I think I can't thank him enough in this journey. So he helped me a lot, but I think luckily then, thankfully, I managed to embed that client really, really well, and it was a new client again. So somehow always seems to be dealing with the clients who are new to the business, or whom I'm new to, and I somehow survived that really, really well. From there onwards, I moved to Milton Keynes, where I thought like all of the 100 top 100 practices were at my doorstep, but I couldn't get them in. And then I decided to move back to London and work for one of the biggest uh, s- uh, venue in south of London. So worked there for about, again, it was a startup. It's like one of my friends opened that, so he asked me to help. And when I joined, they literally had no staff, and then when I left, they were like turning over more than 10 million pounds, and every single processes they had, I was the one who actually embedded those processes from the start. All the reporting, all the KPIs, and the bonus system, and the how to um, basically go about doing their day to day. I was one of the one who was actually embedded that system throughout that. So as you can see, I had varied experience from dealing with complex businesses to startups to multi-million pound companies, and so on. And now then I decided that, I might finally decided to obtain a practicing license,
Mm.
which I acquired about to 2022. But back then I had some serious big clients who I was basically had my all of the eggs in one basket. But I think one after the other, they were either getting bought out, or they were getting into a production phase, and so on. So I think within a span of 6 months, two of them left, and then I decided to leave the third one, because and I decided to do my own practice. And since about January this year, I've been doing my own practice, and it's been doing well. I think I've got over 120 clients that I'm working with at the moment, and referrals coming in left, right, center. So yeah, this is the journey, and I'm sure you want to ask more questions on this, but yeah, so feel free. Sorry,
Yeah.
you got dragged on, but 14 years
No,
I
no,
was
it's
trying to
good.
sum it up.
No, no, it's good. It's good. No, I like that. I'll probably want to start on a couple of things. So, when you started as a bookkeeper, so early on in your journey in your career, seems like it's a little bit bumpy to say the least,
Mm,
right? Because you come in and then, for example, a line manager goes and perhaps you don't have the experience, you muddle your way through. Then you join another company and then the same thing happens. And you said it was the best thing that kind of happened for you. But
mhm.
have you got any bit of advice now looking back on what you did to get through it? Or if someone else is in that situation, what they should do? Because a lot of people, obviously, it is a scary thing, right? Because you're so insecure about yourself right at that point because you've not proven yourself. There's so much you don't know. Then now you've lost your support network. So how do you process that and get through it?
Yeah, I think the one thing that helped me coming to think of it is is a dedication, and be able to do that thing. If you're going to shy away from something, or if you think that's too hard and not even going to try it, I think you always then you never know you actually failed, or you succeeded, right? I think one thing I did, and I did loads of mistakes, and I think back in the days I used to work on Sage. When I started the bookkeeping, after every transaction was I read. You could see all the reds in Sage back in the days, and that's how I'm talking about Sage 50 back in the days. And when the owners used to look at that, oh my God, how many entries you've posted? I said, no, I had to delete. So I had to go through again and again and again and again and again. So working on that, and within 1 year, I used to have a Sage. We had literally hardly any red. Look at the whole year, and I don't have any red at all. And I think that helped. Obviously, I can't uh, uh, thank the owner of the business. He was supportive as well. Obviously, he had to work with me, otherwise he was going to find somebody else. And I think I was just dedicated, and I was just into it to make sure that I need to get it out somehow, and be able to learn and progress, and how you do this, how you do that. Instead of, I guess I could have sat idle and done nothing. But
Yeah.
the other option was, and I'm like, well, might as well try and improve, and try and learn. I'm sure it's going to help me in the long run. I think that that was a mindset. And I think at that time I decided, and it was 100%, that my career would be in an accountancy. And looking back, if I had not worked in that organization for that period of time, and given basically full responsibility of it, I may not be as same now. I look at the transaction now, and I know exactly. I look at the set of accounts. I know exactly where the problem is, because I have been on the other side
Yeah.
of those accounts. So yes, I guess the dedication, you don't want to give up, and obviously if you had the support from others, that's obviously great. But yeah, this is what kept me going.
Yeah, no, it's in another thing you just said there as well, though, was about how you made a lot of mistakes as well, right? Mistakes
Yeah,
happen. So,
yeah.
do you think as well that it's almost because I think that the biggest mistake you can make is being scared of making the
Mm,
mistakes.
yeah.
If you know what I mean, because if you're because that's probably what puts people off as well, and it makes you scared, right? Because you're like, oh, I don't want to make mistakes. But then if you're too scared to make the mistake, then you're probably then too scared to do the work. So, what's your view on that as well? Do you think that how did you process making mistakes? Were you kind of okay with it? What would your advice be to someone who's scared of making them as well?
Yeah, no, I think you actually hit the nail on the head. Yeah, so I think you don't need to be scared of making a mistake. I think you will always make mistakes. I still make mistakes. So you are 100% right. I think initially, yes, you do get scared because I guess somebody's going to be looking at your work, and you're going to get told off, and so on and so forth. I still remembering back in the days when I was actually writing a check, and I wrote a check, and I made so many mistakes. And that was the last check as well. So obviously, and we needed to get something out. So I'm talking about back in the days where you used to pay by checks. So he had to sign 7 different places to make sure that the check is actually correct. Back in the days, if you make a mistake, you have to sign to say that.
Yeah, yeah,
So
yeah,
I
yeah.
wrote the check, and he had to cut. He has to sign. Then the date is incorrect. He had to sign. So he has signed 7 different places. That's how wrong my check was. And I'm like, oh my God, he's probably gonna sack me, or I'm scared. And then from there, I was literally at the position where he used to give me a check, or like signed check to pay whatever you need to pay. That's how confident it gave me. I think even like slightly going back, I think where I've learned this to be able to strive through. When I joined, as my first ever work was Curry's, and I joined as a December temp. That was my
Mm,
first ever job when I was 17 years old, and
yeah.
and I used to make mistakes after mistakes. So I didn't even know what I was doing. So my manager back in the days was like, "Well, you haven't done this, you haven't done this," and I'm like, "Damn it, what will I do? They probably will sack me." And I'm like, "I guess I just need to keep on doing what I know the best." And then that first year, I literally got sacked because I obviously I wasn't getting what I need to do basically. And from there to I became one of the best employees of the Currys in 2 days running, and nobody could work the way I worked. So I think I kind of cracked that mentality somehow. Somehow I seems to have overcome that thing that, oh, if I made a mistake, there is no way out, or I get worried. So I've developed this nature where you made a mistake. Let's try work this out. Let's try. I think that's why most of my clients actually love this as a whole. Aside, I think some people come and say, "Well, my last year accounts are wrong, and HMRC is this, HMR." Well, hang on a minute. Let's just look at the all the possible options you've got. You've got this option, and that option. Which way you want to go ahead for, rather than saying, "Oh no, it's job done, game over for you," and you can't deal with it. I was like, well, don't worry about it. HMRC are always compassionate about these things. If you made a mistake, deliberate, non-deliberate. So yeah, I think this is how I think I must say. Just keep going. I must say.
Yeah, yeah, 100% as well. And I think to be fair as well, now if you look back on it, probably making those mistakes, because one of my mentors told me as well that try to make almost as many mistakes as
Yeah,
possible early on, because that is how you learn quite quickly as well, right?
that's
And
correct.
then
That's
another
correct.
podcast I actually did with another founder, he talked me through something called double loop and triple loop learning, which I thought was quite interesting actually, where he said if you make a mistake, then reflect on why the mistake happened, and you keep almost using it as like a feedback channel,
Mm,
and that's how you
mm,
become a stronger accountant, let's say. So let's say
yeah,
you kept making a mistake with bookkeeping, then if you say, ah, what's the mistake, why did it happen, then you're probably going to keep learning from that, aren't you? And you're going to
of course.
keep improving and keep getting better. Whereas if you're not
100%.
making them, can you get better without making mistakes? I don't know. I don't
No, I
think
don't think. I don't think so. Yeah, I don't think so. Yeah, and I think this is why. I mean, when I was given an opportunity to work in my first practice, so as you could, newly acquired clients, we haven't prepared their accounts in the first year, so I have to prepare their accounts manually by looking into what's previous year, this year. So I made loads of mistakes even then, but now I'm at the stage where no matter which accounts you actually give it to me, no matter how much the differences are, I'm able to crack them within like half an hour because I know I've built a system where I can. So yeah, I guess yeah, never ever shy away from mistakes. I would say you are gonna make errors, and you are gonna. I guess in that respect, I think I was quite lucky because all of my principals and the managers I had weren't as bad. I think some of them you might come across really, really, you know, what I mean, are characters which you and then it's a game over for you. But luckily, I didn't have that.
Yeah, yeah, 100%, 100%. Okay, no, cool. And I guess as you kept progressing your career, did you work at industry at all? Like, or were you always in? Yeah. So was the company that you mentioned, was it your friend's company? Was that the one that was an industry-based company?
Yeah, yeah. No, actually, prior to that, I joined another company in Milton Keynes. Again, they started off as a 75,000 pound worth of turnover, and
Yeah.
and in the second year they were like 3 million pounds, and and that was a startup as well. So I think that started my industry career, and they had lots of other businesses, small businesses. So at the same time, I was managing like I think six different companies, turning over 5 4 5 million each. At the same time, working I think at that time I was just hungry for work, and I'm like, I was working Monday to Saturday,
Mm.
basically just had one day off, and every now and then I used to get call over to my friend's company in Croydon, so I used to travel back and forth, Croydon to Milton Keynes, Milton Keynes to Croydon. So yeah, I worked in an industry where I worked as an FC, I worked as an FM, I almost worked as a FD as well, but yeah, I had those roles under my belt.
Okay. If you had to compare practice and industry, um, what would you think were like some of the key differences for you, like you found, and
I think,
how did you find it?
yeah, I think one major difference is probably the salary. You know, as industries sometimes offer more salary in terms of the practice.
Yeah,
As you know, you are
yeah,
a
yeah.
you're a smaller fish. You actually are a bigger fish in a smaller pond, and you are a smaller fish in a bigger pond kind of thing when you're in a practice. I think with the practice, I would say anybody who's serious about learning in an accountancy and being and want to be a good accountant per se, then definitely work your way up from a practice to an industry,
Yeah.
and otherwise you would not be able to understand both sides of the world. I mean, you don't know what you say if you're working for a company forever and you've never worked in an industry before. No matter how much experience you have, you still would not know how accountants think and what do we need to liaise with them and what do we need to do with them and so on. Yeah, you may have a good salary, decent, but then you haven't learned as. So my advice to everybody is have practice experience. 2 3 years, 4 years is more than enough, and then you can start your journey, and then nobody will be able to catch you up in that respect. You will always be passing with flying colors because you're going to have a knowledge of the other side of the accounts and this side of the account, so you know exactly what you're doing. So industry better when you look at it in the monetary terms, and practice better if you're serious about accountancy and you want to learn and you want to progress.
Okay. Yeah, no, I completely understand that. Like, for example, I'm from an industry background, and I definitely would say that someone, if they want to go from practice to industry, that transition is probably going to be easier than industry to practice, right? Because
Yeah,
it's
yeah,
just completely different. Like, you don't really need to use accounting that much in industry. That's the honest truth, right?
yeah,
So it's 100%. I completely understand. If you want to be like a good rounded accountant, eh, your practice is probably your
yeah,
best route, isn't it,
yeah,
to get there? Um,
100%.
I'm also I'm also intrigued though. Like, do you mind just just talking me from the journey where, let's say, setting up Logica. So did you set it up? Did you say January this year?
No, I've been actually working in the background since 2020, since I actually started applying for my practicing license back in
Yeah.
2020, like post COVID. So I started working on the name and the website, and so I've been going on, but I wasn't actively working on Logicus Accountants. It was just the name was there, it was registered, the website was up, the logo was designed, So I was like just keeping it on the side. As soon as I get my practicing license, I will then start to like advertise as a chartered certified accountant. But yeah, that's what happened.
Sure. Okay. So you were you working in a practice then, and then you kind of were
No, no,
just
I've no, I've left practice. I've done about 6 years in practice. Initial 2 years in an industry, then in practice about 6 years or something. But I've been out of practice since 2000 and uh, about 2017 now.
okay. Okay. What was your most recent role before you started the work on building your
I was the FC of this venue based in south of London.
yeah. So
Financial
interesting.
control.
So I want to kind of go. So to be fair, look, like worked your way up from bookkeeper all the way up to FC. People generally say that accountants are generally, they say, quite risk averse people would
Yeah,
say.
yeah,
And
yeah.
so can you talk me through like your mindset? Because that's a good post to you progress your career quite nicely. What was your mindset behind actually thinking first? And the other thing is you'd actually been in industry for a while. So now you're actually going back towards practice and doing your own. It's quite a big step, right? So what was your mindset?
I think the mindset was which it was for a lot of people in COVID is about having your own business. I think now when we are talking about hybrid working anywhere you like, and the flexibility you want to have, and 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 having all of that in a mix, and if you actually own a business, yeah, then this is a done deal for you. So I think the yes, you were right. I made that decision very late in my life. I should have been in the practice a long time ago, or own my own practice. But I think I made that decision a bit late. Although it was a risky decision. It was a very a decision my wife supported with me. But I was
Mhm.
scared. I'm not gonna lie. I was scared at a time because when you have a set life, there are
Yeah,
certain expectations you need to meet, and you need to have that. You know what I mean? You need to deliver. So I think coming out of such a highly paid job and then going starting my own thing where you don't even know when the if it's going
yeah,
to be succeeded or not be succeeded, but I took that chance. And I think accountancy businesses and accountancy practice businesses it's always a good one to have, I must say. This is something that the earlier you start the better. Otherwise you can face challenges and you could be demoralized with, because there are times in the practices where you just don't secure a client for the whole month or even for 2 months. And then there's a month that comes, then you get like three, four, five clients. So you just have to keep at it and just keep your head down, and like make sure your ducks are in order and you've got things lined up so that uh, and I think um, I can go back to industry. It's not going to be a problem, and I might not get the same salary I used to get, but I can always make my way up. But I guess a business, having your own business, plus it has a added value. You'll be able to, if I keep this business for 5 years, I may be able to sell it off for, you know, what I mean, how much is the pound for pound for accountancy practices? But this is something you would never get in working in a practice. You would just always be an employee, an employee, an employee. No matter how many bonuses you get or profit sharings you get, you're never ever going to be the owner of the business. You see, so this is what it is.
yeah. Okay. So was it COVID that made you start to really think more about it?
Yeah, I
Is that what
think,
happened?
yeah, no,
Yeah, yeah,
100%. When we were, COVID made me realize that, and plus I was actually quite comfortable because I was working with quite a few other companies here and there, and they were quite big, and I was in my comfortable zone, and as soon as one goes, and I'm like, well, hang on a minute, and then the second one goes as well, and I'm like, well, I now have to make a decision either to be continue working or secure a high paid job, 120,000, or I could just work on my own practice, start something small, and then make my way up. And the amount and time and effort I'm putting in into somebody else's businesses, I should be really putting it into my own business, and let's see where it actually takes me. And yeah, so and I'm glad, thankfully, so I made that decision again, and yes, it's going good.
it's really interesting. Like the point that you mentioned around COVID, though. There's definitely the reason why. I think it's funny, isn't it, in life? We often follow a process. So, for example, it's like, okay, get your education or get your degree, get the job, and we follow a process, and we do learn. I'm not going to say it's a waste of time, not at all. It's productive, but it's funny how we sometimes never actually think, what do we want from life?
Yeah,
And
yeah,
sometimes I think COVID was an eye opener for a lot of people. It was
yeah,
actually almost, it gave people time to think, actually, what do I want from life? Because before that, maybe you just keep
yeah.
following a process, but have you actually thought about what you actually want to do? And it seems like you had a lot of reflection at that point in time where what do I actually want from life more than anything, isn't it? Like,
Yeah, no, 100%. No, I think thank you for making that. Yeah, yeah, it was. I think COVID was that time where all we had is just either the TV or you reflect upon how you have done and what you wanted to do and so yeah, I think that was and I think then again it got obviously uh helped the fact that like one of the company goes, although I was scared at that time, I'm like, oh my God, what I mean, all of a sudden you had 10-20% of your income gone in like a matter of 3-4 months,
yeah, yeah,
and what are
yeah.
you gonna do? And then I'm like, I think my wife actually helped me in that. I think my wife has been pestering me for the past 4 or 5 years to go for the practicing certificate and try your own practice and see how it works and so on. So I think it's because of that. And I think again, if I had not worked in my second practice, I think the guy in there, I contacted him after like 6 years, 7 years, and I'm like, well, listen, I want to, want to work with you. I want you to sign off. And he was like, yeah, fine, do it. Yeah, don't worry about it. Don't need to mention. Just, do you remember what you have done? I was like, yeah, I've been doing it as I was going along, but I didn't actually put any thought into it whether I'm going to get it signed off or not. So yeah, he helped, and now I am owner of my own practice.
No, it sounds absolutely awesome. You did just say something as well that like you feel your advice is to start sooner rather than later. I'm interested by that because would you not also say that you developed a lot of technical expertise working in for a long period of time to then deliver? Is there not a risk if you try and start too soon, you might not
Yeah.
be technically competent enough? So just want to get into your mindset when you said that.
Yeah, no, I think when you work as an accountant, I think the exposure of the clients give you a lot of that knowledge and plus
Yeah.
the on top of that, if you have for example, if you actually put some time into learning and CPDs and all that, then you can gain that exposure, technically speaking, with the industry. You can learn all you want. That learning would be stopped after 2 to 3 years. Then the things would actually become mundane because basically same business, same processes.
Okay.
You just you
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
you're just basically managing it. So for example, this South London business, once the reporting's been set, took us about 6 months to do the reporting. It was a learning curve. Once the process has been set, once the SOPs are created, and then you just have to basically manage it. So first 2 years, yeah, you learn enormously, and then you basically thrive and you keep on adding value to yourself. After 2 to 3 years, you kind of not really learning anything new. You're just basically managing it.
Plateau a bit. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's how you um and yeah and so and but you can gain that experience by looking at individual accounts from different clients, and you actually looking at their profit and loss balance sheet. Yeah, it did help in a great way. Now I can go walk into any business and I know exactly what processes they need in place if they want to safeguard this, safeguard that, improve cash, improve this. Yeah, that definitely helped. But you could gain that but while working with other clients and putting yourself into a bit of a CPD and whatnot. So that's the
So just to kind of summarize a little bit, like what would your advice be to someone? So if they say like, you know what, I'm fresh, I'm not an accountant yet, I want to start my career. What kind of roadmap would you suggest to someone to kind of get to where you've got to, and maybe in a more
actually
efficient way, what you suggest?
yeah, actually I did have an interview yesterday. Well, I was trying to recruit for a person, and I gave some lady a chance. And so what she has done, my advice to her and to everyone out there, if they want to switch careers or if they want to start in accountancy, uh, is you need to put your head down. You need to learn. Once you've learned, you need to go out there and somehow manage to work. And it's gonna be time. It's gonna be boring. Accountancy is not the most exciting job in the world, but once you put your head down, you learn and you concentrate. You'll be able to be. You're gonna be a really good accountant. So you have to study, and you have to do what you have to do what it takes to be in terms of your job, or your, and just be sincere with your profession, like any other profession, like I'm sure doctors would
Mm.
advise you the same. You just need to be sincere.
You know what? Like you said something there as well that really made me think. I don't know if you agree with this, but I think being bored is quite an important skill. I know that sounds
Yeah.
strange, but I truly think that because to get very good at anything, you have to keep repeating it, right? And
That's
you
correct.
have to do that repetition. Eventually, it gets a little bit boring, but to keep getting better, you have to keep doing that repetition. And if you get bored too easily, you almost will keep switching to different things, and then you'll never end up becoming strong enough
Yes.
in one particular area. So, but yeah, I don't know if you agree with that. Like, where
No,
you
no, no,
said as
no.
well, you're
100. Yeah, 100%, 100% agreed. I'm not gonna say I've never been bored with it. I was bored as well. I mean, first 2 years of my studies, I was so bored, and I'm like, I couldn't want that. I didn't want. I just wanted that to finish. And yeah, I think focus is the main thing. I think you need to have focus in life, and I think this is where you can learn. If For that, you need to actually set yourself a goal. What is it that you want to be in the 4, 5 years, 5, 6 years time? Yes, you want to have a car, you want to own your own uh, business, or you want to have a house. You have to set yourself goals. If you're not going to have any goals, what are you working towards? And then that would might probably keep you focused. Now, like I do holidays, I do this, I do that. So for that, I need to have a goal. I need to have a goal. I'm just giving you an example, hypothetically speaking. If I want to go on a holiday 3 times a year, I want to go, other places. I want to
Mm,
drive a nice brand new car, then I must have a goal. And my goal is not to look for loans and credit cards and this and that. My goal would be to earn enough money to be able to sustain that. Otherwise you can't uh, you know you can't rely on loans and credit cards and all that to be able to survive and thrive in your life. So I think goal is the most important thing. So I 100% agree with you. To be able to focus, you need to have a goal.
100%. Let's just maybe go into that. What I would say, you said when you started the company, you were scared, which is understandable to be honest. But I guess you probably had the benefit of also having tough moments in your career before where you've also felt a bit uncertain. So you probably had that
Mm.
to refer to. Could you just, I know it's too much detail maybe, could you talk me through the journey a little bit with Logicus in terms of, so when you started it, how it kind of went, maybe some of the things you went through, what were some of the difficult things, maybe some of the things you didn't expect to happen that happened, or did it go how you expect to happen? Like what, can you just talk me through it a bit?
Yeah, sure. Yeah, I think when I started, I think the first thing which I found really challenging was is to convince the clients to be able to buy your services, because they'll say, well, what is like how many clients you have, or how big are you, or how many staff you have, and who's going to be dealing with it, and whatnot. And I'm like, well, just your words, you just have to make them sound like they are the best things you are probably want like hearing. And I think that was the most challenging thing. And not all clients, they will hear your story and your case study, and you'll be like, oh yeah, I want to jump on the bandwagon, I'm going to be working with Syed. So there are clients who've taken a lot of time to convert. So that was one of the
Yeah,
challenging things. I think the other challenging is just to manage. So, like, once you grow, if you don't have the processes in place, then and processes takes time. That's another challenge. It's not all greener. The grass is all greener this side of you can never be too relaxed. So I used to work sometimes Saturdays, Sundays, taking calls, and then sometimes prioritizing work over what I want to do. But I think then, like, once all the processes and stuff are set up, then you can relax a bit. And then you the other challenge will be the like-minded people you need to find equally good. You may find people you want to get along with, you can get along with, but then they're probably not as good as technically. So there's always going to be challenges no matter what you do. So yeah, these are the main challenges, I think.
it's a good point you mentioned that. I do think I absolutely agree with you, and I love how you said like you almost have had a bit of mindset. You know what, go for it,
Mm.
try and do it early, like get your experience and stuff. But I think you have mentioned there that we need to respect that doing a business, you have to respect there's a sales element to it as well, right? You can
Yeah,
be
yeah,
technically so competent
yeah.
and you could be the best accountant, but if you still need to be able to sell, and that's probably kind of what you've said, isn't it? That challenge of still trying to sell yourself to client because they don't know who you are, they don't know what you do, and to be honest, they kind of don't care sometimes. They don't have the time to look into it. They're not going to
No.
go and find out about your background, so they need convincing, and that is a skill. But at the same time, the promising thing is, would you agree, it's something you can learn? Again, it's just another thing. You don't have to be a natural salesperson, in my opinion. I think some people might find it easier than others, but you can learn it. How have you found your journey? Do you feel like that's another skill which you've kind of learned as you've gone into the
Yeah,
business? And
no, yeah, 100%, 100%. This is one of
yeah,
those skills that you have to learn, and just have to, and yeah, just have to somehow overcome the fear of, say, if you're not the talkative person, you just have to overcome that fear, and you need to go out there because the first thing they will hear from you is going to be your voice. You're not going to certainly go and meet them, so you
yeah,
somehow,
yeah,
and in accountancy world, the conversion rate is so low. I mean, if you talk to 10 clients, you may be able to only convert one. So it's like, I think conversion rate, if you're achieving 2 to 3%, that is actually more than enough. That's what they say.
yeah,
Plus, there's
yeah,
a
yeah, yeah.
competition out there who can, yeah, depends on. Then you have to assess the client's mentality as well. Some clients don't care you offer uh, the full world worth of services to them. All they care about is the fee you charge, and some clients prefer the service no matter what you charge them. So it's about different mentality. You need to understand the body language and what clients want. So that's another skill you have to go through. So I guess it's unfortunate. It's going to be a learning process throughout, unless you are like you've got about 1,000 clients and you're not worried about whether they come or don't come. And but I'm still fresh in my journey, so I tend to look after what the client's actually looking for and how can we deliver, and you know look at the pressure points and what do they actually want, kind of thing. So yeah, this is, and you have to be flexible. You have to work with the client. If you're a rigid person, short tempered, then you're probably going to lose it. Sometimes clients end up saying stuff that you don't really like, but you kind of give them the benefit of the doubt that they don't probably mean that, and then you have to
Yeah,
respond to
yeah.
them in a yeah. So I guess it's just never ending. It's just never, it's probably when you die, maybe then it's probably end. But I think no matter what you're doing, it's just never ending thing. You're just constantly learning and learning and learning and stuff.
I like the point that you mentioned, though. I think it's very reassuring for anyone, I would say, who's going to go on that journey of doing a business, etc. That you know the point you mentioned around low conversions. I remember when I started my company and a mentor I spoke to, and I said that, oh, I did 100 reach outs, I didn't get anything. And he like, what? That's like a week's worth of work. It's like
Yeah,
you have to expect low
yeah,
conversions. You have to
yeah,
expect that. Otherwise, you're going to think you're failing.
yeah,
It's that for me, that was a big difference, actually, a transition between a job and a business in my head. Like when you're doing a job, you kind of feel you're ticking a lot of things off. That's getting done. That's getting done. The business a little bit more like when you convert, that's great, but majority of the time you're not converting. So you can almost in your
yeah,
head feel, oh my word, most of the time I'm not achieving it. You know
yeah,
what I mean? Like
100%.
I don't know, I've
Yeah,
done 100 reach outs, like you said, or 10 client reach outs, one. But that's a great conversion, right? That's great.
yeah, yeah,
But in
yeah.
your head, the other way, oh, I failed on nine of them. So you have to switch your mindset a little bit.
100%. Yeah, yeah, no, 100%, 100%. I think this is how it is. As I said, there are months I don't secure any client, and then there are months where like
Yeah,
4 or 5 clients jump in straight away. So it kind of averages out. And
yeah,
I think luckily our recommendation has started to come a lot, and I think our referrals have started to flow quite a lot now. So I think we try and then these referrals don't come because you just you just have a pretty face. You have to deliver. You have to uh, they over deliver sometimes. So that the clients are happy, and
100%.
they keep on recommending.
Let's get into it then with logic. So let me play like devil's advocate. There's so many accounting practices out there, like you say. Like, what do you actually do? So, do you mind just covering what industry do you cover? What's your specialism?
Yeah, as I said, I think my main forte would be, I think, startups. I'm really good with startups. And I
Okay,
think what I've I have learned is and I've done it with loads of my clients. I think I look at their like profit and loss account, and I can give them certain numbers, and from their profit and loss account, and give them certain views about certain numbers, like their ratios, their how much the staff needs to be, and what the profitability needs to be, and comparison and KPIs, and benchmarking. So I think this is, I think, what my key responsibility, like key key proficiencies are, that I'm actually able to talk to them in their own language and trying to help them, not as an accountant, as a friend, to say that, listen, this is you need to do, otherwise the road is going to be tight. It's going to be next year. It's going to be the cost is rising. You need to look at your prices. Clearly, your cost is increasing, but it looks like you haven't increased your turnover yet. So this is something. So this will be my main forte, my main. But I think in terms of the industry, I've always, I think my experience has been varied. I mean, I always worked with small to medium sized businesses. I think I'm somewhat uh, very good with probably hospitality industry, like restaurant. I even opened up my own restaurant at that time, but it was a joint venture.
Really?
Yes, it was like a joint venture, but I think it wasn't that successful because I wasn't able to pay attention to it because I was busy with other things. But yeah, so I mean, looking at that, when I did get in, it was a bit too late, and we were trying to save it as much as possible. But then we decided to sell it. Luckily, we didn't have any loss in it, but we had to like shut it off because I just didn't have time to concentrate on that, because that wasn't my thing to
Tough
do. It was
business,
just
restaurant
side
business,
investment.
isn't it?
Yeah, yeah,
If you,
yeah,
yeah, if you're not giving time to it, like I actually I saw a video yesterday that restaurant business, unless you're really passionate about it, don't try and do it because you're going to be competing against people who love food. They're so passionate about food, they're giving
yeah,
their life to it. So
yeah.
yeah, it's a very hard thing to do unless you can give your full attention.
Mhm. Then I think the main thing in restaurant business is you need to be the chef, or you need to understand the nitty gritties of it.
Yeah,
Although I'm a good chef, I would say. I mean, my wife probably disagree, but I think I'm. But again, I don't know how things are prepared, and someone could easily, and unless you are good with the account, like myself, I'm good with accountancy. Now I know exactly what goes in, what goes out, but with the food, you don't know what. So you're relying on your staff, 100%, to be able to deliver it for you. And I don't think living in a world where somebody else will be able to generate the income for you and give it to you, kind of thing. Especially not at this scale, anyway. Unless you have a conglomerate or you have a multinational business, and then you're relying on staff and helping you. But I think at this level, where the margins are like in pennies, then you need to know the nitty gritty. Unless you're going to be you,
you've got to be all
unless you're
over it.
bound to 100%, 100%.
Um, so in terms of, do you cover different types of industries then, like within
Yeah,
your clients?
yeah,
Like what?
yeah.
So
We currently not picking and choosing. We are just taking any business out there. Somehow we have managed to build up quite a good portfolio in a dog grooming business, a restaurant industry, care sector, and some normal consultancy businesses. And yes, and some of these businesses were, when we became their accountants, they were really, really small, and they are all now in multi-million pound businesses now. So we kind of grew with them, as you probably
yeah,
want to
yeah.
call it.
Okay, okay. And what sort of services do you provide? Like all sort of like VAT, tax returns, like what? Like pretty much,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah. I think one thing I must say, I think it's not just about the doing the VAT returns or doing the accounts. I think one thing we add value to it is you can go to any accountants and they'll be able to provide you with these services. The most cheapest accountants, the most expensive account. I think what we try to do is we try and cover compliance for them. Or if they haven't claimed something, we try and advise them to claim. Or if they are profits are not looking good, we try and advise them that, this is looking high and this is not looking good. Last year you did this. So basically adding value, I think, is we are really good at. And this is what we strive upon as well, that, yeah, anybody can prepare VAT accounts. Now there are software cloud programs out there. Businesses can themselves do all of that. And they probably don't need an accountant, because that's how easy it's actually become. A press of a button, your accounts are done. But I think where they fail is add value, and how they save, how they progress, what are they looking, why their cash is low, how come they don't have profits, and how can they save tax, so on and so forth.
Interesting. Do you feel your experience in industry helped you? Because I know, like earlier on, you kind of mentioned one of your differences is you try and almost, correct me if I'm wrong, provide almost commercial support where you kind of
Yeah.
look at numbers, interpret stuff. So do you feel that helped you as well, and you've tried to add that on
Yeah.
part of your service, or let me
100%.
know, is that irrelevant? Yeah,
No, no, 100%. 100. I
yeah,
think what me working in an industry helped me is, for example, if I'm looking at a restaurant's business accounts and I see that the wages are high, and I'm like, well, hang on a minute. You're open from 9 to 10 or 10 to 9. That's like 12 hours. you don't need anybody because your lunches are looking slow. You don't need two people in the beginning. Somebody can come in and do the prep, and then you need the second person can join a bit later, third person can join a bit later. By doing this exercise, you'll be able to save. Or the other example would be, if, for example, you have a hotel business. Well, your occupancy is only 40%, but your labor cost is this. I know a, I know that a room would take you 15 minutes to normal clean, and 25 minutes to a room service, but your staff is spending like 7 hours in on three rooms. What is going on? So you need to look at that, and you need to assess what is actually, and this is how I've learned, and comparing things, because I know this knowledge, I'll be able to apply it, and that is because of my practice, my industry knowledge.
100%. Okay, so it seems like one of your real differentiating factors is that you almost become like a commercial business partner to
That's
your
correct.
clients rather than just a an accountant just to tick the box off with
Yeah,
HMRC and actually help them save money effectively,
hundred
truly
percent.
help them save money in their business, not just from a tax front. Is that kind of what I'm
Of
getting?
course. Oh, but yeah,
Yeah,
100%, 100%. Yeah, yeah, we
yeah,
work with
yeah.
this ethos, and we try to help them as a commercial, and there are no charges extra for that. It's just all inclusive within your monthly service. So a professional person looking at your business, trying to help you, like additional arm, like you just like the FD you probably want to have. I mean, hence why, all these big companies, when we try and sell it, is like they've got FD, they've got FC, and then, so these are there for a reason, and they're not just there because it's a job they need to fill in. They're there to help save, and so on and so forth.
Yeah, no, 100%, 100%. No, I honestly, like, I truly see the value of that. Let's be honest, yeah, if you want to just get your tax return done, there's lots of options. But to be honest, running a business is hard, right? So you've got so much to do. Sometimes you don't have the time also to look at all of these things that you mentioned, like especially for a small
100%.
business, you just want to keep doing your service. So maybe you are missing out on opportunity. Maybe you're spending money in places you shouldn't be spending it, etc. So makes a lot of sense. And yeah, so like, where can people kind of find you? Like, have you got like a presume like a website, anything that you wanted to mention, or
Yeah, no,
LinkedIn,
we've got
anything?
we
Yeah,
have got a website, and we've got LinkedIn as well. We've got like over 40 five-star reviews on Google alone, then Yelp, then other places. So yeah, we've got and plus we are investing more into it, because we know that is, I think nowadays is social media is out there. Unfortunately, we're not on Instagram, but that's something we
yeah,
don't
yeah.
know have the expertise of, because and as you know, it's a quite new thing. But we are there on Facebook, we are there on Twitter, we are there on the Google and LinkedIn and so on.
Perfect. No, no, it makes complete sense. And yeah, when a client gets signs up, like, do you just initially do like a consultation with them, like in terms of understanding
Yeah,
about
free. Yeah, yeah, we
yeah,
do. We often do free of charge initial consultation. If needs be, we can do another one to see if they're taking their time. So we try and help them to make as much calculative decision as possible. As like a lot of clients come over to me complaining their accountants don't even talk to them, and they send an email today, they don't get a response about 4 weeks and so on. Whereas we have got WhatsApp, or you can email us. I'm more than happy to share my personal number as well if it's something. And I always insist them that if it's something that's like you need to ask, just pick up a phone and call us. You don't have to shy away, and we don't charge for this kind of thing. And it's all inclusive within your. And as I said, it's a complete support that is available to them, rather than just an accountancy services, end of year accounts done, off you go, sir, see you next year. Not like that. So we try and insist them to seek help, and it's all included in your services. And yeah,
perfect. No, so look, it's been great speaking to you. I really appreciate how open and honest you've been about your
mm,
journey as well. Like, and you've shown vulnerability. I think sometimes I feel tempting to just show it's been a smooth journey, and I knew what I was doing the whole way, and I planned it all out. But I think you've just been quite honest that we all work it out as we go along. To be
yeah,
honest.
100%.
And it's always a
Yeah,
bumpy ride, and you just keep trying to get through it. And yeah, I'm
yeah.
sure a lot of people listening will be able to take a lot of inspiration and advice out of your journey. Maybe if they're struggling, they're finding things difficult, or they have goals but they feel uncertain whether they can get there. You've been a good example of someone who has. So I really appreciate your time and
No,
talking
no,
to
thank you
us.
so much for having me. No, thank you so much. And I think this is something I always try and help people out to say, and give them both sides of the both aspects. So yeah, always trying to help.
Perfect. Thanks very much, Syed. Thank you. All the best.
No problems. Thank you. Have a good weekend. Take care, Janae. Take care. Bye bye.